This is a special edition of Late Night Health. I'm Mark Allen. We're going to take a look at the way people eat in the United States, maybe even throughout the world. We're going to take a look at the obesity epidemic in the United States, where I guess the estimates are almost 50% of Americans have too much weight. Our guest is Sandy Robertson, and I have to tell you, look at all the initials. She's a registered nurse. She has a master's degree in nursing, both from East Coast colleges. And you have a couple of other initials, CHIP and CMIP, indicating you studied as a medical intuitive. And you'll explain that too. Well, how did you get into nursing? Let's start there.
Mark, from as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a nurse. My mother, who was an economics major, could not quite understand it, but I believe I was born with an empathic nature. I always wanted to take care of people, and it was just straight, that was my goal and vision, to be a nurse and help people get better, heal, and help their families too.
Has nursing changed since you began just a few years ago?
I think the influx of technology, computerized medical records, which is actually excellent for consistency and continuity. But nurses now need to spend a lot of time on computers or with machines, and that can take away time from the bedside and from being patient-centered. But there actually are many nursing programs embedded in the training now about returning to the art of nursing and not forgetting the communication, the intentional, compassionate touch, the caring for the family, all those many beautiful aspects of the art of nursing from its origins with Florence Nightingale.
You mentioned bedside. A lot of times today in hospitals, one, due to a nursing shortage that we still have, that nurses may not be able to spend that time with their patients, and not to put them down, but nursing assistants may do more at bedside. How do you feel about that?
I feel that nursing assistants play a vital and valuable role because, as you say, in many cases, they're spending more time with the patient, and not just that, doing physical care, intimate care, whether it's bathing, helping someone brush their teeth, comb their hair. It's very beautiful, and I've seen excellent, wonderful male and female nursing assistants provide that professional, technical, and loving and nurturing care that's so needed when someone's ill or in the hospital.
This is saying, that touch, just the simple act of touching somebody who is maybe in pain, somebody who's suffering emotion, that touching is so important, isn't it?
It's very important. There's a lot of research about the power of compassionate, intentional touch with newborn infants or in the neonatal ICU. I'm also a certified energy healer. I do healing touch and Reiki. And one reason I was so interested in that is people do appreciate compassionate, intentional touch and providing nurturing energy to them with hands actually on or off the body a little. It's important for all of us, for all humans, to have that connection.
Well, let's talk about your book. Your book is Why Am I Eating This? Then the second line of the book, Is This the Nourishment I Need? I want to talk about the first part. Yes. Everybody gets cravings. I think that's human, okay? Even dogs get cravings. You can't feed a dog or a cat, you're a cat out there, the same food every day. They get tired of it and they want They don't want salmon, they want tuna, whatever it might be. Um, is that natural to have those cravings?
I think it is natural to have cravings, and everyone's brain chemistry is different. And there's a center of the brain that has to do with cravings, whether it's craving sugar or carbohydrates. So I think sometimes, since everyone's physiology is different, there can be everyone has a different brain and different physiology. So perhaps their cravings are different. And for some people, it can be a problem down the road, whether it's sugar or alcohol or other substances because of that craving center. However, I think it's possible to train and retrain our mind. For example, people who love sugar to shift to natural sources of sugar, fresh fruit, even cinnamon. There's a lot of great research about cinnamon, and it can, not can, provide sweetness. So, myself, I know many people have decided, okay, really going to limit my sugar, shift to fruit. And that actually helps the cravings that they thought were just a given and they had no control over it and couldn't do anything to eat healthier. There's also a great saying with initials I love: halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So if I want to eat the whole blueberry pie, am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Or perhaps isolated through COVID. I recall reading people gained a lot of weight, some people. So back to your example of the pie, I don't think that's um, a regular thing. Although for some people, once in a while, they might want to eat the whole box of cookies or the whole gallon of ice cream. I would ask, how often does that happen? Is it once a year with a particularly awful day or week or trauma, or something that's happening regularly? And then I would suggest they talk to a doctor, nutritionist, psychologist, and expert to deal with the craving and the behavior and the root cause underneath.
Because if you eat a gallon of ice cream every night, that's not good. But once in a while, somebody passes away and you're like, you have an argument with a spouse or a friend,
Right.
you break up. There's an emotional trigger there. And food is comfort. I wanted to talk to you about that. Why is food comforting?
It feels good, especially certain kinds of foods. I'm thinking oatmeal, for a lot of people, ice cream, warm, creamy things. For some people, salty foods are comforting. A bag of popcorn, a bag of pretzels. I love pretzels. But my book
I love
really,
pickles.
the salt, right? Generally, people, I've heard generally, are drawn more to sugar or salt, when they crave food. But my book really talks about retraining your mind about food and how we think about it on a minute to minute, day to day basis. And why am I choosing this food over and over again, especially at this kind of day? And then back to your question about nourishment, without judgment, just really curiosity. Is this really the nourishment that I need right now?
Gut health has become very important. In fact, there have been correlations between gut health and everything else. And both alternative food as medicine people, as well as allopathic doctors, have recognized that the gut is very important. In why am I eating this? Do you talk about the gut at all?
Yes, I do have a section on the gut brain connection. Just as you're saying, Mark, it's very important. And there's a lot of information in the media now about probiotics and the state of your gut and the right kind of bacteria there, et cetera. But what some people do not realize is that the gut brain connection is bi-directional. Think of a freeway going both directions. So if we eat something that's off, or if our gut bacteria is off, serotonin and dopamine are actually produced in the gut. That can affect our emotions. And perhaps sometimes we feel we're off or depressed. It could be because of our gut. And in the other direction, if we're feeling off or depressed or sad or out of balance, that affects our gut. So that's one of the most interesting things that I've been reading about and studying. And actually, as I said, included it in my new book because it really is important. It's not an accident how we feel a lot of times emotionally. People think it's just a coincidence. I'm having an off day, but perhaps it's something going on with their gut, or it could be something going on emotionally or psychologically, and it goes back and forth, affecting all of it.
We've mentioned this, but if somebody craves that blueberry pie, maybe with a gallon of vanilla ice cream, once in a while, they've had a particularly bad day. Somebody yelled at them, they had a traffic accident, whatever it might be, and it's affected. Okay. And we talked about the fact that they're real.
Marketing.
Well, that's a real simple answer there, isn't it?
I've taught mindful eating. I've led obesity programs in hospitals and corporations. And there are photographs, you may have seen them, of the size of a cookie or a muffin or a hamburger or a drink in a fast food restaurant in the 50s versus now, and the whole supersize. And when I've traveled different places out of this country, people comment, people in other countries, you Americans, everything's supersize. So just marketing and the food industry over time have, just in my humble opinion, pummeled the American psyche of this is the right portion size. And for most people, it's way, way, way too much food for the amount of calories, fuel that their body needs, whether it's children, teenagers, adults, etc. Unless you're an athlete, world-class athlete or marathon runner or sports, very active.
Mm-hmm. I think, and not that I believe this, but one of the government agencies, I think it's USDA, says, here's a portion amount for food. And you go for 4 ounces of meat or chicken or fish. 4 ounces, most people can inhale that in one bite. Is that a good way of looking at your food, and just eating that 4 ounces? Is that a good measure, or does that need to be reevaluated?
I'm so happy you're bringing this up, Mark, because most people do not understand their basic caloric needs. And when I was leading, hospital and corporate programs, for example, an average woman, I'm saying average, trying to lose weight, the recommendation is 12 or 1400 calories a day. And for a man, it was 1800 calories a day. And again, that depends how much exercise you're getting. Most people have no concept of what that looks like in terms of calories throughout the day. A meal at a restaurant can be 2,000 or 3,000 calories. So back to 4 ounces, that is the recommended amount of protein. When people add a lot of vegetables and salad and roughage to that, the bowl is bigger, the plate is bigger, and psychologically, visually, it looks like, oh, I have a meal, whether it's whatever culture or type of food. You could do this with every culture around the world. So I love that you put up that example. I have a scale. Sometimes I weigh it because I'm curious, I'm not obsessed with it, but I think having a scale and just being aware or reading labels of the portion size and how much that is really valuable for people.
Have you personally ever had a weight problem? Because you're thin.
I have had a weight problem. As a child, I was overweight. My grandmother lived with us and loved desserts and big meals. I was overweight, at times called fatso and chubby in elementary school. When I got to junior high, I lost the weight, kept it off. But then in college, studying nursing, the pounds crept up again. So it's something that I've had to be aware of and vigilant my whole life. And I'm sure there's no surprise then of why it's a passion now of wanting to help people change their relationship with food and eating for good. That really is my passion.
And that's really what the book is all about, because food is a relationship with people.
Yes.
You mentioned, the different ethnic foods. When I eat certain foods, I think of my father, um, because he ate some of those, and um, and I'm going to tell you, I was in New York, and just this last few days before we recorded this, and I found a place in New York that specializes in herring.
Oh,
Okay, now most people are going to say, "Yeah, he eats herring," but it's just something that I remember my dad liking, and I when I eat it, I automatically think of her. Is that common?
yes, because of the profound memories of taste, and it takes you back. Thanksgiving and other holidays do that for people. They taste the food and they're back in the kitchen, with their mothers or grandparents. So definitely such powerful familial memories associated with food. I love your example about the herring. That's great.
Do you like herring?
I do.
Do you? Oh,
I do.
I got a place for it.
Okay.
What about smells in other words? Because I walk into certain kinds of restaurants, and if they don't have a smell, a good smell, I walk out. I can't eat there, especially if it's some kind of ethnic food or barbecue would be one. You walk in, you want to smell that smokiness. You walk into an Italian delicatessen, you want to smell the garlic and the cured meats. You walk into a Chinese restaurant, you want to smell that smell. First of all, it triggers the palate. Um, a good way of watching your relationship with food.
It can go both ways. I recall reading about a very famous cookie company that would have the door open and something with the air system so that the aromas of chocolate chip cookies wafted out. And also, I remember reading food courts, are very much about the aromas and the smell to entice people. So it's a beautiful thing. Food is a beautiful thing, and aromas are a beautiful thing, awakening our senses and memories to eat. I see that as all good. It's what we do after that. It doesn't matter what the food is, but great, have a chocolate chip cookie, but have a cookie, not 25. It's all about amounts.
If you sell your house and you bring somebody in to sell your house, they often will tell you to, if you're having an open house, to cook chocolate chip cookies.
Exactly.
Because that aroma says home.
Exactly. Exactly.
We wrap up this segment. We're going to be doing another conversation with Sandy very soon. I was thinking of hugs. And we're going back to that touching that we mentioned that nurses do and doctors are supposed to do when they're dealing with a patient. Somebody doesn't have that emotional connection, a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, even a pet, that touchy, yes, right? So instead of a hug, do people turn to food?
Definitely. People turn to food when they're lonely, when they feel alone, and want nourishment and comfort. Food can provide that nourishment and comfort and actually numb our feelings so that perhaps we are lonely and isolated and want touch. And there's no one around or a pet to do that. And food can provide comfort but numb our feelings. So use the great example of pets. Some people volunteer with pets if they don't have them, or are in other volunteer situations where with permission it's okay to hug, even the colleagues, asking their permission. So as you're saying, compassionate, intentional touch is healthy and nourishing and vitally important for everyone.
We're out of time for this segment. The name of the book is Why Am I Eating This? The second line of that is this the nourishment I need? So if you go back to that blueberry pie example I used earlier, we'll find out if what you're craving is what your body really needs. And that'll be coming up next segment. If you want information about Sandy, her website is up, and also how to find her book as well. I'm assuming your book is available at Amazon and other sellers?
Yes.
Good. And this is edition number 2.
Yes.
That's really important. All right, we're going to say goodbye on this segment. This is a special edition of Late Night Health, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you, Mark.